It's Fox time, everybody. Hello, 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 how are we doing tonight? I see Nana is going to be working. And working. And also working. Is what we're going to have to deal with today, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, you just welcome. I said you just hold on. I need to move my microphone closer. I think that's what the issue is. Hi, free comma. If Raiko is ever in a gacha, or in something that isn't, I should do a Raiko % speedrun. I'll take you up on that, I'll do it. Hello, Yosuke. Welcome, welcome. Today is going to be a fun one. I've been working on it for, I think, a few months now. Kind of since I've started. So a little background. I have been into the series since 2015. No, not 2015. That's when F-Go came out. "2017, that's when it was. A friend introduced me to it. And since then I have fell down the rabbit hole. But recently, people have been saying that, you know, Fate is such a hard series to get into. All you know is the memes. That too. People only know the memes as well. And it kind of frustrated to me. So I just kind of realized, hey, wait a minute. I could just do a stream going over how to get into the Fate series. Because it's genuinely not hard. It is not hard at all to get into this series. So I figured what I would do is make a stream, and I guess later turn this into a video going over the Face series, and also the Fate series, and talk about where to start, and what the is this on loop. Okay, I think everything is working fine. So what I decided to do was put together an entire presentation. Let me get that pulled up now. By the way, once the stream is over, I will leave timestamps in case you want to skip to any point. So here we are, the Fate series. I made this myself. Are you guys proud of me? So let's get right into it. Before we begin, I am not summarizing the lower end story, and also the lore. Anyone who's new here, meet text to speech. She is a fickle one. So this will not be a summary of the story of the series. This will just be an overview of everything that's available as of June 2023. You know, the current time. You can absolutely use this as a guide. I very much hope it's useful as a guide. This series, unlike say Metal Gear or Kingdom Hearts, does not require you to consume every bit of media within it. There's only a few, 2 at most, that I would say you absolutely need to go through. And finally, I will not talk about the show listed below. I refuse. With all of that said, I should also include that if you guys ever see anyone saying like, oh, I don't know where to start, just send them here. Share this with your friends or anyone that you see saying that they're having a hard time figuring out where to start. So with all of that out of the way, what is this series? What the hell is it? This series started as the adult visual novel Fate Stay Night. The visual novel was written by Kino Kanasu. That's close. And it was published by Type Moon. He released in Japan on January 30th, 2004. Which means that as of now it is almost 20 years old. That's the correct reaction to that. And the surprising part is that this series is very successful. Like, it has so many entries and it has made so much money. Last time I checked it was like $3 billion. You guys are going to have to correct me if I'm wrong there. So with that said, since there's so many entries, but where exactly do you start? If there's just so much there, you know. I'm pretty sure that's correct, yeah, so where do you start? Where you start is very simple. You start with Fate Stay Night and Fate Zero. Just those two. You can do one or the other first, but you should do both. These are the best starting point for the entire series. Now, like I said before, Fate Stay Night is the original, so of course it's the best starting point. And Fate Zero is a prequel to Fate Stay Night. However, we are going to go over Fate Stay Night first. I hope you guys like these graphics. I had to download a lot of image A lot of images, that's what I said. So. Fate Stay Night is a visual novel if that wasn't apparent before. And it's on PC. However, like I said before, it is for adults. There is pornographic material in the original release. And it will take you about 60 hours to get through the main stuff. And that's if you're not looking at a guide or something. Which I would recommend looking at a guide. How come it's called Fate Stay Night? That is a good question. I have no idea. I'm sorry, that's not the name of the main character. I'm sorry. But getting back on track. The visual novel has 3 stories or routes, which all you know are branching from the same starting point. Those different routes are Fate, Unlimited Blade Works, and Heaven's Feel. I very much recommend that you go through the visual novel in that order. It's the most cohesive way to experience the story. Now let's say you don't have 60 hours to spend going through a visual novel. Let's say you hate reading, or you hate things. I have solutions for that. Several alternatives to the visual novel. No, that is the wrong music. Why is it doing that? Okay, let's try it this way. I don't know if the music is too quiet there, but continuing. First off, we have the 16+ version of Fate Stay Night, which as I recall is on PC, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation Vita. This is kind of the version that all of the adaptations are mainly based on. Is sometimes they do pull from the original adult release, but for the most part they mainly pull from this one. Then we have the Fate Stay Night anime from 2006. It was done by Studio Dean. Now, I list this as an option, but I highly recommend that you don't touch it, because what that anime tried to do was take all of the roots from the visual novel and roll them into one story. Not very cohesive. And as far as I've seen, the animation has not aged very well at all. After that we have Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, the anime from 2014. This one was done by Studio Ufotable. Hold on. UFO Table. Close enough. It was done by that studio, who has worked on other Type Moon projects. And if you really just wanted the bare minimum for Fate Stay Night, this is where you want to go. You want to watch Unlimited Blade Works. The first episode is an hour long. I will warn you about that. But after that it's your standard 30 minutes. Or 24 minutes. Then we have the Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel trilogy. Each one released in 2017, 2019 and 2020. I don't know how long the movies are. I'd assume like maybe 2 hours each. But the covers. It covers the Heaven's Feel route, which is my personal favorite. But I don't think you should start with that one. I've also seen some of the animation from the movies and it's beautiful. So if you really like eye candy, it has that going for it. Did the original route get an adaptation? No. No, it hasn't. The closest we have ever gotten is the 2006 anime. I don't like saying that. So these are your options for Fate Stay Night. Like I said, the bare minimum would be the Unlimited Blade Works anime. With that out of the way, we should talk about the other thing I mentioned. Fate Zero. Now this one is a bit different. Because instead of it being a visual novel, it was a light novel. One that ran from 2006 to 2007. It has 4 volumes in total. And I am sorry to say, it is 18 plus. For the light novel at least. And however long it takes is totally dependent on you. And like I said before, this is a prequel to Fate Stay Night. Now like I said, or you know, if you hate reading with a burning passion, you do have an option. Because Fate Zero also had an anime in 2011, also done by Studio UFO Table. This is actually what I started with. A friend had me sit down and watch this. And unfortunately that was a mistake on her part, because I am now knee-deep in this rabbit hole. Actually not even knee-deep. I am so far down I can't even see any light. To reiterate, your base options, the bare minimum to get into this series, is Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, and Fate Zero the anime. You just need to watch those two things. So we are going to move on and we are going to talk about more of the media in this series. So I'm going to give you guys a moment to back out now if you're not ready to see all of that. If you just want to experience Fate Stay Night and then Fate Zero, you can come back here and see what else there is to offer. With that said, we are now moving on. So, let's say you already watched the two anime, or you read the visual novel, read the light novel, whatever you did. Where do you go from here? Wherever the hell you want. This series is very open-ended. After you go through those two, you are free to explore it at your leisure. No, I'm not talking about spoilers. I'm going to avoid that as best as possible. So, what we have here is what I kind of consider the different universes. Everything that you see here is essentially like what each universe sort of encompasses. And I know I'm leaving a few things out. That's because I am not familiar with everything in the series. I know I'm leaving out Type Redline, and a strange fake. And I'm also leaving out the reason light novel. I said recent light novel. If not, I have not seen anything from it. And I know it hasn't been translated yet. So we are going to continue with this red box here and move on to, and I really hope text-to-speech gets this right. Fate Hollow Ataraxia. Faith Hollow. Fate Hollow. Ataraxia. That works, we'll go with that. So this one, it came out a year after Fate Stay Night. And it is a visual novel. And unfortunately it is adult as well. However, it's much shorter than the original. It's only 30 hours this time instead of the 60 from before. In the OK text-to-speech, the progression in this one is much more linear. And it's a lot more lighthearted. For the most part. And it's kind of a sequel to Fate Stay Night. And yes, we have the angry mango here. Look at him. So let's say you still don't like Hulu things. There's still an option for you. in the PS Vita release in 2014. I don't know if it got another release on PC. I couldn't find anything on it. Maybe I didn't look hard enough. So that's your alternative to the original release if you just plain don't want wood things and lewd things. This one is a lot more straightforward. Speaking of straightforward, we are now going to move on everything that was in the blue box. This one I call the Extra Universe. Starting with Fate Extra. This one is personally one of my favorites. So, this is not a visual novel. This is not an anime. It's also not a light novel. It's none of those things. This one is a video game. It's a turn-based RPG. It was released on the PlayStation Portable in 2010. It has a T rating. So you know 15 and up. It'll take you about 29 hours. However, I highly recommend you have a guide on hand. There are multiple endings to this one, and it's very easy to screw up and get locked out of the true ending. No, it's not an instrument and neither is horseradish. So Fake Extra has a different take on turn-based. It has a rock-paper-scissors system. However, as you see in this little image here, there's a bunch of different little numbers here. Essentially, every round of combat, you pick 6 actions and watch everything play out, while also trying to guess what the enemy is going to do. This is very much not a turn-based game where you can just mash the X button and think that you're going to get through everything just fine. This is a game that heavily punishes poor play. Thing that does add some replay value is the fact that you can play as different servants with each playthrough. It's also very Persona-like. Yes, it's a dungeon crawler, and it has a day-by-day system, just like Persona. So the available servants are Saber, as you can see in the image, Archer, who's over here, looking upset, and Caster, who is not here. But if you know who she is, you know she is Fox Girl Prime. Alright. Let's move on to Fate Extra CCC. Or as it's actually called in the game, the Curse-Crushing Crater. This is a kind of sequel. It's more of like an alternate side of the first game. It released in 2013. And it was never released in America. At all. Just like its predecessor, it is a turn-based RPG on the PSP. However, the age rating has got them this time. It's gone up this time, that's when I said. It is now 17 plus. And it is much longer to finish. All of the playable characters from the first game return. But it also introduces a new character, Gilgamesh. And Gilgamesh is kind of like a secondary mascot of the series, in my opinion. We already went over the 18+ games. Those are the visual novels. Now, as far as I know, the game is not too different from the original. Except you can dress up your player. I don't know why that's not more of a common thing in the games. Just plain being able to give multiple outfits to your character. Where's the updated one? Doesn't exist, I think. I'll have to get back to you on that. So if this is like an alternate side of the original game, then where's the sequel? There's got to be a sequel, right? You saw how many things were in that blue box. Well, it's right here. Fake Stella. Yeah, I'm not even going to try with that one, we're just going to call it a fate. The umbrella star. Oh, text-to-speech doesn't want to work with us with this one, but that's fine. So rather than it being a turn-based game, it is now an action game. Much like Dynasty Warriors. If you guys have ever played that. This one is also available on a lot more things. You can get it on PlayStation, on the PS Vita, on PC from Steam, and on the Switch. And it also has a T rating. That means it's good, guys, and there's no funny business. Yeah, I kind of standard there because I was laughing a little bit, but it's also not very long. It'll take you about 21 hours to finish. And this one has a bunch of characters you can play as. Through the main story you are only going to play as 3 characters. But in like this extra mode where there's like a bunch of side stories, you can play as so many different characters. And listed here are just like a few examples of the servants that are in the game. This is also one of my favorites as well. It's not like the best out of them all. The gameplay loop can get repetitive, I suppose. But and I should say the story is not like the greatest thing ever. But I personally think it's actually really good. Also, it introduces a very important meme character. Perhaps the most important meme character. Okay, beyond this is another sequel. Yes, The Wiggle. You know what I'm talking about. But after this is another sequel. I am going to have to call it Fate Link. We're just going to have to call up that because text-to-speech does not like this word. So just like its predecessor, this is still an action game. This time not on the PS Vita. But it is still available on everything else. And it's still rated T. And it's significantly shorter. I will say though the gameplay in this one is actually much better. Like it is so much more fun to play. That said, I'd say the story is. It's not nearly as good as the first one. But it does have even more playable characters. Including one of my personal favorite characters in the entire series, Charlemagne. The character models are better too, yes. That is correct. They are much better. Alright. We only have one more thing. In the extra universe. In that thing is an anime. Fate Extra Last Encore. This is one that I actually haven't watched. Aired in 2018, though that might actually be wrong. I don't think I got that right. It has about 10 episodes, so it's actually pretty short. And it's kind of like an alternate sequel to Fate Extra, but not really. You can see why things get confusing. That said, you should absolutely go through Fate Extra before going through this. It really requires that you do. And the time estimate here is purely based on how many episodes there are. And I probably got the math wrong. But we're going to ignore that. And move on to the next universe. The Apocrypha universe. This one introduces everyone's favorite character, Astolfo. We all love him, right? We all think he's great. Alright, this one is a light novel, which I ran from 2012 to 2014. He has 5 volumes in. It is 17 plus. And of course the time to finish it is dependent on the reader. Now I hear what you're saying again. But I hate reading. I wish all books would be burned tomorrow. And I agree with you, which is why they created an adaptation in anime in 2017. Reading is for nerds. Anime. Now that's where it's at. This one is very straightforward. And it does have a sort of sequel, I think. It's type Redline. I believe it's type Redline, but I'm not very sure because I unfortunately don't know too much about it. Also, you can see everyone's favorite saint here. Say hello. Alright. There's one more thing to cover. And that is probably the one thing that everyone universally knows about. The one bit of fate that we all know. And that is Fate Grand Order. This is the gacha game. It has been running from 2015. And it's still running. It's still being updated. The story of this game is multiple parts, with several different chapters. Or no, I guess you could call them like books. Several different books. And like two collections, we could say. Right now. The game is on its second overarching plot. And at the time of streaming this, we have just received the sixth chapter. No book in the second overarching plot. So this is a gacha game. So I have to warn you guys. If you struggle with addiction, or you have very poor spending habits, don't play this. If you're unable to control those things, you should not play this at all. Maybe look up the story, if you really want to know it. But please, don't play it if you suffer from those things. If you don't, and I'd say, it's actually pretty fun. Like when you learn how everything works, it's actually pretty fun. It runs on a turn-based system, but also unlike a card game system. I said on a card game system. There are so many characters in this as well. Like I actually don't even know how many characters are in this game. I should have counted before we started here. So, I would say it's actually pretty fun. Granted, it is old. It is an old gacha game and it's not as shiny as any of the other ones out there right now, like Star Rail. But hey, if there's also like a servant that you really liked from one of the previous things, you can probably get them here. Like as far as I know, almost every servant in the series, he's in this game. is in this game. Text-to-speech is not working with us right now. And that'll have to do it for everything that I'm personally familiar with. And all of the, I guess you could call them mainline stuff. However, there is more. There is a lot more in this series than what I just went over. You have things like Fate's Strange Fake and Type Red Wine. You have the adaptations for Grand Order. You have Vowel in the Snow. Or as I personally call it, Both in Snow. You have the cooking show, which is kind of funny. You have the two like filled fun-filled, a series that are more just everyone having fun. And then you even have the fighting game Melty Blood, which I include here because it does include fake characters. I said fake characters. Text-to-speech. You are not working with us right now. There's also more coming in the future. We have Fate Extra Record, Fate Samurai Remnant, and an adaptation for Fate's Strange Fake. And yes, those memes are true. People actually played Melty Blood in bathrooms at official tournaments. That was a dark time. But we are going a bit too far ahead here. And that'll have to do it for the entire series. There's probably a few things I forgot to mention or include, and please leave a comment for whatever I did forget. That way everyone else who sees this will know. Like, hey, this thing exists too. A lot of stuff in the series. And it's very easy to look at it all as a whole and get very overwhelmed. But I think I've shown it's not actually that hard to get into the series. I'll have to do it. That'll have to do it for this presentation. I've gone over everything that's really needed and everything that I'm personally familiar with. That means that we are going to close things out now. I know this was a much shorter one, but hey, this is something that I really wanted to do. Something that I really felt like I needed to do, you know. So with all of that said, as always everyone, Fate. Stay foxy. I'm very proud of that. Alright, I appreciate everyone who showed up here. Yosuke Aegis free. And Nana is here, you working as usual, actually not as usual but this time. I really do appreciate you guys stopping by and watching my presentation. Also share this around. Seriously, I really want to get this word out. Fate is not hard to get into. Share this with your friends, share this with anyone who just doesn't know where to start. "10 out of 10 presentation, thank you." Like I said, it took me since April to finish this. Why did you pause the music? Yeah. We're going to close things out here. And like I said before, Fate, stay foxy. Bye everyone. Bye Aegis. Bye Yosuke, bye Free. And bye Nana if you're listening. See you guys tomorrow. I salute you as well.